Yo, Friday, can see representing Madaraka all the way. I'm here with the Madaraka CEO, and you know who he is, somewhere undisclosed location. Let's go.
Utaongea sana. Utaongea sana. Ali, please take over.
Morning. We are here at Dialogue with Jagero. This is an amazing space. We are about to have a conversation with the incredible Roberta.
Hello.
Madaraka is the biggest East African music festival in the world, but it happens in America. It started 10 years ago. It started in June 2014 at the Museum of Pop Culture. This museum was built, by Paul Allen. He's the co-founder of Microsoft. And he's also the first person that actually put money into Madaraka Festival. His financial advisor, this is a billionaire. His financial advisor was a big fan of what I was doing. And so, one day after advising him on all the money he has, she told him, look, you have to watch this video.
Yeah.
So they watched like a 3-minute video of the work I was doing in Kisumu, where I was building this education, music and art program, where you are,
Yeah.
And so then he said, so what does he want? How can I help him? And then she said, well, he needs a venue to do a music festival, to continue raising money for this program that he does. And then he said, okay, I'll give him a music venue, and then I'll give him $15,000,
Yeah.
And that, along with the support of the Seattle community, I have to give a big shout out to Owora Lunga. He's probably the only Kenyan with a Grammy award, like a legit Grammy award. He used to be the trumpet player for Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, and he was the first music director for Madaraka Festival. He was,
How did you meet him? Just through these things you're doing?
He knew about me even before I went to the States.
Yeah.
The things I was doing I'll take you back. Madaraka Festival actually started in Kisumu. Let me take you back even further. Yeah, so in 2007, we had the elections. At that time, I was actually the field director for Africa for Solace International. So I was DJing on the side, but traveling a lot around Africa. And so right the day we voted in 2007, it was in December. I left Kisumu. We voted early in the morning. That same day, I went to the airport, then came to Nairobi, spent one night. The next day, I flew to Ghana. We were building a hospital in Ghana, in Volta region, in a town called Ho. It's really like a few minutes from the border with Togo. So, while in Ghana, like 2 days after we had voted, the counting started changing, we started seeing things,
I remember.
And so we were at the Liberian embassy in Ghana processing our visas to go to Liberia. And so things started, chaos started, and Kisumu was in the news, and the Liberian ambassador was telling us, this is how things started in Liberia, you guys need to be careful, And so by the time we went back to the place where we were working in, we were in Ghana for like a week. And during that week, things got messed up in Kenya. At that time, my mom was running an orphanage home in Kisumu. Also the same place where we were when we visited. And so we had kids, over 60 kids were living there. That was their home. And during school days, there were like 200 kids that would go in that building was a primary school.
Oh.
The building opposite were hostels.
Those were classrooms and stuff? Okay.
Opposite that building were hostels where the kids lived. And then the kitchen that I was pointing, that was the kitchen where the kids used to get food made.
Okay.
And next to it was a dining room. It's our like green room now for production. And so that was also our home before it turned into an orphanage home, you know. And so we had like 5,000 chickens there. We had a chicken business that we were running. Because these kids could not live that
your
home.
mom is very industrious, just like you.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
They, you know, during that week, these kids ate all these chickens, and they like the store was empty because there was no market or shop working. So my mom became desperate. There was no food for these kids. So while I was in Liberia, now I was actually about to leave Ghana for Liberia. I began figuring out how do I go back home quickly to evacuate my mom and these kids from Kisumu because there were bullets flying. Like I was sometime in Ghana and I'm being sent videos. So this is what's happening right now, you know. And so kids were now familiar with the sounds of bullets and things like that. We had bullet holes in that building, you know. And so being in Ghana and about to go to a country that I'm just recovering from war, I was like, wow, I need to go back home, you know. And I'd worked in South Sudan too, so I knew how to move around even in war-torn places. But I had to go and finish work in Liberia for a few weeks. But things were worsening in Kenya. The Eldoret church massacre was happening. And so eventually, my boss actually now took Kenya as a humanitarian project. And he was like, okay, now you need to go. That is now your assignment. You have to leave Liberia, and you know. So I feel that when I went to Kisumu, you know, even getting to Kisumu from Nairobi took me 3 days during the
You went by car? How did
I
you
flew.
go?
I flew to Nairobi. Even getting flights to Kenya at that time was a challenge.
Yeah.
But I flew to Nairobi, then I flew to Eldoret, you know, then stay a night there, then I got a flight to Kisumu, you know, with journalists and, you know, humanitarian people. And then when I got to Kisumu, it took me like a whole day from the old Kisumu airport to where our place is because of roadblocks. There were like roadblocks every half a kilometer, and you have to do something. You know what I mean?
Kitu kidogo.
But what I learned is every roadblock there was someone who had attended my reggae shows. You know, I was a reggae DJ. So I was like, I know you, and he's like, Javu, lakini hapa hivi mimi sina say. Uko na nini hapa? Anasema niko na cabbage, leta hiyo cabbage.
Yeah.
So I shopped. I knew that people were hungry, people needed food, so I had like unga, I had stuff, you know. So I could just give away as I went by. But even until the last roadblock, I knew someone. So I was like, this is great. These guys listen to reggae. Let's organize like a reggae concert, you know. And so I immediately began evacuating my mom and the kids, but also planning a peace concert, you know. It was called Unite the People concert. So this was really the beginning of Madaraka Festival, April 2008. I think it was like a week or two after Kofi Annan, after we had that Kibaki and Raila handshake. That's when we were allowed to hold a public music concert. Yeah. The same people I had met during this trip from the airport to my place were there.
They attended.
They had no machete, they had no weapon.
Yeah.
We just had a good time. We started at 5. The next day at 8. Nobody wanted to go home. We had stopped the music, but people were just outside. You know, traders were bringing food there. People were just hanging out. Are you going to continue doing this? When are you going to do it next? You know. So I was like, okay, we do it again next year. You know. But that money from that event is what we used to register One Vibe Entertainment Foundation at the NGO Coordination Board. So the DJs and the MCs that night were the first board members of One Vibe Africa.
Yeah.
You know. And so every year we began, you know, just building this concert series, and then I moved to the US officially in 2010, and I kept doing it there. I did Unite the People concert there in 2012. And then I realized that African Americans love African names and African branding.
And music.
So we were at Owura Runga's house, his mother's house. And they already knew about Unite the People concert and what I was doing in Kisumu. So they asked me, how can we help? You know, and these are people who are deeply rooted in the African American culture. And then I told them I just need a venue, and I think we should do this thing around June 1st, you know. June 1st fell on a Saturday.
Madaraka Day.
Madaraka. That's how we rebranded.
Madaraka Festival.
Yeah, Madaraka Festival.
So that's where the name came from as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we rebranded Unite the People concert to Madaraka Festival because the date when it was happening was Madaraka Day.
Yeah.
And for some reason it drew all the Kenyans, all the Nigerians, all the African Americans. And this was the first African event held in a high-end venue in Seattle. You know, the Museum of Pop Culture has the biggest indoor LED screen in the world. So imagine someone from Manyatta holding an event at this venue. And you know the headliner for the first Madaraka?
Who was it?
Macklemore. You know Macklemore?
Are you kidding me?
The year he won the Grammys, the year he was the
Yeah.
headliner for Madaraka. You know? So there was a line around the building and people came curious, what is this Madaraka? Why is Macklemore the headliner? And it was like a euphoria, a euphoric feeling, you know? And we were able to not only like sell out the venue. If I show you pictures of that day and having the sold out sign outside, it was really moving.
Yeah.
But we also raised a lot of money, over $70,000, you know. We were able to get everybody paid, and we started One Vibe Studio. The recording studio you saw in Kisumu was as a result of that first Madaraka Festival. So every year when we do Madaraka Festival, we do something. The second year, we started One Vibe Films, you know, our film production company. And this year, we are starting Omena Train, you know, our Omena, you know, our locally sourced Omena brand,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So really Madaraka Festival is also, it's not just mine, it has overgrown me and my capacity. So now we are involving so many partners. Madaraka Festival is the only African festival in the world that officially partners with Live Nation. You know, Live Nation is the biggest concert producer in the world. So for them to follow our story for 9 years, and last year they were like, okay, we have to work with you, you know. And if you look at Sauti Sol's shows, the same idea of not doing a shoddy job with the events I produce is the same idea that people didn't realize that we started this 10 years ago.
Yeah, so we've just finished the interview. How was it, Simon?
The interview was really deep. You know, it's hard to. It's really hard to sit me down and have like a 1 hour conversation with me. So this was really like therapy. I'm happy I did it.
So whoever is watching this right now and would like to watch the full interview, what I watch wapi?
You can go to Dialogue with Jagero on YouTube, and you'll be able to catch it. I don't know when they'll publish it, but you just subscribe to that channel, Dialogue with Jagero, DWJ.
Man, in fact, there's a lot of information about Simon I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was there in the interview, like watching, like listening. Hey,
Yeah.
man, that was deep.
Oh,
Deep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so go look out for that.
Yeah.
And if you've not purchased your tickets for Madaraka Festival 2024 Kisumu December 14, please do.
Yes. You can't afford to miss it.
Kabisa, let's go.